My name is Lena and it's knitting time. So it's been a very long time since I made like a real episode. The last two videos that I did were like everything I knit in a year and what was it? Yeah, and knit and chat. So there's been a while since I made one of these episodes, and I did just remember that I promised you every baby knit I made in 2022. Haven't filmed that video yet, so I'll do that soon. But yeah, it's been honestly a period. I don't know if I've talked that much about this on this channel, especially in English, but I struggle a bit with like mental health. I wouldn't call it a depression because I have gone through a depression when I was younger and it's nothing like that, but I do have, like, I'm prone to anxiety, and like when I describe it to Simon, my partner, I say that I have periods when my mental health is very low, like it's drained, and like it's taking a lot out of me to just like do the day-to-day everyday activities that I need to be a part of. That is basically draining all of the energy that I had mentally that day, because it is very low, and that means there's not very much left over for these kinds of things. So that's one of the I have been going through one of those periods lately where my mental health has been struggling a bit and it's been very low. So that's one of the reasons as well why there hasn't been a video in a very long time. Another reason is that I feel like my knitting life right now is a mess. I am hardly knitting anything. What I am knitting, I'm not really enjoying. And I am slowly getting more and more back into reading, which is I've talked about that before. That's my like true love when it comes to hobbies. So I've been getting more and more back into that, which means I've been getting further and further away from knitting, which is also a reason I haven't made a video in a while, because I felt like I didn't have anything to talk about because I haven't been knitting, and then I realized I haven't made a video in forever, so I have a lot to talk about anyways. You know, it's the whole thing. I'm not gonna go into depth more about this right now. I just wanted to, like, full transparency, tell you how it is and why it's been a while. But I'm back now. I'm here and I'm filming an episode for you. I was just sick. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice. A couple of days ago, I had no voice, so I couldn't speak at all. I was planning to film this video that day. Woke up that morning, was like, well, this isn't happening. I can't even make a sound. It's better now, but you can probably still hear it, and I'll probably start coughing when I've spoken a little bit. But I have a tea, and I do have some water to keep me hydrated and get me through this. So let's go. I realized that I haven't made a video in a long time. So I went through them and was like, what was the last thing that I showed that I had like finished? I realized there's been some knitting since then. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is what I'm wearing. Do you like this? You can see it. This is my sweater number 23 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, which is my first ever dropped shoulder construction, where you knit the panels separately, you join in around, and you pick up the stitches for the arms. I usually just do a raglan because they're so fast and easy and you don't have to think about it. But this was a drop shoulder. It was my first, and I kind of enjoyed it. I'm not a big fan of picking up stitches. It's not my favorite. But that said, I do wear this sweater a lot. It's been winter. It's still winter. We still have snow here. I don't even know if I did the introduction. Did I say where I'm from? I live in Sweden, if I didn't, with my partner Simon and our daughter Iris. And we still have snow here at the end of March. So I've been wearing this sweater so much because I made this sweater super long and it's a bit oversized because I wanted it to be one of those sweaters, you know, you wake up and you're a little bit chilly and you're like, oh, I really don't want to get dressed yet, but I kind of have to because I'm getting up. And you just want a sweater that you can just pull on and feel like you're still under your, like, in your bed. So I made this sweater a bit oversized and super long to be that cozy sweater. Also made the sleeves super long to give that like comfy feeling. And I also, this wasn't in the pattern, but I did a split hem on this sweater. I'll pop in like a reel where you can see me wearing it. So I did the split hem. I'm not really sure why I decided to do it, but I'm glad I did because it's very comfortable. It doesn't like hug me anywhere. I wanted it to be loose and just comfortable. So that's what I did. This sweater is knit up in, I need to look at my notes because it was a million years ago, it feels like. I think it was Ulysses, right? Yeah, the rerum natura. I don't know how you say that name. Ulysses, and the color caramel, held with one strand of Alva from Filcolana in Dijon. So 2 strands. They're not the exact same color, but I kind of like that. It gives it a little bit of a like a melanged feeling. I did the size S, so it's a lot less positive ease than recommended in the pattern, but I went off of the like measurements and was like, I don't want more positive ease than this, so I went for the size small, and I have a bust circumference of 107 centimeters if like you want to use that for reference on how much positive ease I have on this. And yeah, the only like modification that I did it like a few. I did the split hem, which was a mod, obviously. I did like 2 rounds of decreases after my bust, just to like cinch it in a little bit because I didn't want it to flare out. And I did add some decreases to the sleeves. I think the pattern had no decreases at all on the sleeves. And I wanted it to be oversized, but I didn't want the sleeves to feel oversized, like that oversized, because it's not my favorite feeling. So I did a few decreases to the sleeves. Other than that, I followed the pattern. Water break. Yes, moving on. I realized when I went through my videos to be like, what was I showing in the last one, that I have never shown you the finished version of this. So I'll do that now. In the last knit and chat that I did, I was knitting on this and modifying the sleeve because it was too big. And I still feel like it's a little too big. I wish I would have gone down even more in needle size for the sleeves. I didn't, and I'm fine with it. It is gorgeous. I'm happy with it. This is the Festive pullover by Skenger Knits. I made it super cropped as usual, and yeah, I only did 3 motifs. I didn't want it to be like full on color work. I didn't want color works on the sleeves, and I really enjoy it. You can definitely tell that it's my first color work sweater, especially if you like compare this row right here to this row right here, because these 2 rows, the first one and the last one, are supposed to be the same. So you can definitely see that it's my first color work jumper, but I can live with that. I'm happy with it. I really enjoy it. I made it to feel like more of a winter sweater than a Christmas sweater because I feel like I'll get more wear out of it that way. And yeah, I did this also in, let me see, I'm checking my journal. I think this was also Ulysses, right? Yeah, it was. In the colors Fusain and bouleau or something like that. Yeah, so that's what I did. I'm not going to talk super much about this today because you have that knit and chat where I was knitting on this, where I talked about it a lot. So if you're interested, you can watch that video. But yeah, I think this yarn though is perfect for color work. It really blooms nicely when you block it. And the inconsistencies here are based on my tension and not the yarn itself. So I'm gonna take a little tea break now. You can just enjoy a tea break as well, or a knit break or whatever. I'll do a few seconds. I just need to have some tea. can definitely feel it now that I'm speaking a lot in my throat, that it's not 100%. Story of my life. We'll get through it. We'll do it. So, moving on. The next sweater that I finished is my... I don't know if I've ever shown you this. Did I show you this as a work in progress? I don't think so. Maybe I showed you the yarn? I'm not sure. I made a Semper sweater, another one. This is my third one. And it's very orange. And I love it. Orange is my favorite color. I wish I would have made it, or maybe it's my blocking. I'm not sure. I wish I would have made it like 2 centimeters longer, maybe. Especially in the back. But I think I could block that to fit me better, so might do that. This is very orange. Like I said, I have been wanting like a neon orange sweater for a long time, and I've never really felt like I could go for it. But then I was like, I'm just gonna go for it. So I did that. And this is knit up in 1 strand of Knitting for Olives merino in the color Hokkaido, and 1 strand of Holst garns Titicaca in the color Apricot. That was actually a recommendation from one of you. When I was in a different video asking you for recommendations about yarns, like alpaca yarns that you could use as a substitute for mohair, because I don't like mohair. It's scratchy to me, so I can't do mohair. And one of you actually recommended the Titicaca from Holst garn, so I tried that one, and I quite enjoyed it. So those are the 2 strands for this one. It's a Semper sweater from Sophie Hemmings. It's super basic raglan with a folded collar, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, this is the size F, and I feel like I say this every time I knit a Semper sweater. I knit the size F because that's the size I test knitted this pattern the first time I knitted it. So I knit the size F then, and then I've just, this one and the one I knit before were also F. And I feel like every time I do it, I tell you that I should have gone down 1 size. And I still feel like that's the case, especially for the arms. Not so much for the body, more for the arms. So maybe I should just modify the arms a bit. If I do it again, I'll probably do it again. I love this pattern. This is my new favorite, like, raglan, simple, basic design for like a wardrobe staple, where like a lot of people use the lento or the no frills or whatever. This is my favorite. I love the Semper sweater. The folded collar, the way it fits, I just love it. It's the sleeves that I would have preferred to be a little less oversized, I think. I think it's the yoke depth for me on the sleeves. So maybe I should just try to knit 1 size down and see how that fits me. Because I always add decreases to the sleeves, which makes it look... Because even if I decrease more to get it to fit my arm, this area will still be oversized. So I feel like I need to modify that, or maybe just try a different size. But I do love this. It's very orange. It makes me very happy. I'm glad that I finally did it. That I like finally went for the orange. To prove to you like how big of a mess my knitting life is right now. Like I was preparing for this video, walking around. I was like, where's the orange sweater? Where did I put it? I was like looking all over the apartment. Finally found it, like on the floor behind the couch. No idea how it ended up there, but that's where it was. And I have this like knitting journal where I take notes when I do like modifications to a pattern or whatever. I write what yarn I use and needle size and all of that jazz. I finished the Semper sweater, the orange one, on the 2nd of March, which is almost a month ago. And this is my notes. I'm not keeping up with my knitting life right now. It's a mess. So, the next sweater that I'm going to talk to you about, I don't have here, for good reason. I forgot it. I finished this sweater in December, so it's been like 3 months. but I don't think that I have talked about it or shown it here. Because I think that I finished it in December, should have shown it in the episode that I filmed outside when we were in northern Sweden with all the snow. And I forgot about it, and then I just don't think I've shown it. Shown you after that. So I'll talk about it now. This is a sweater that I made for my daughter, for Iris, and I don't have it here because it's at her preschool. And when I left her this morning, I thought that I would just bring it with me home so I could show it to you and then bring it back when I went to get her because she doesn't really need it today. But I forgot. So it's not here, but I do have pictures, so I'll show you the pictures. This is the Horsetooth pullover by Laura Spargo Anderson. I made the size 1 year, but I didn't gauge for it, so I think that my sweater is bigger than the 1 year size, which is also a little bit like what I went for, because Iris is almost 1.5 years now, and she's quite tall, so I wanted it to be oversized so she could wear it for longer. So that's what I did. And the yarn that I used was this yarn. This is actually a yarn that I bought secondhand from the Red Cross. So it's, let me see what the brand was. The brand was Create with Adlibris, superfine merino. And it's a 100% non-superwash merino. It's like a 1 ply. I think it's almost unspun. So it's not very like sturdy, but I did like colors. Like pink is not a color that I would wear. It's not my color at all. I'm pretty open to like all the colors except for like the pinkish purples and the pinks. It's just not my color, and that's okay, obviously, but I do still like the color. I think pink is a good color. It's just not my color. So I saw this yarn from, like I said, the Red Cross. It was secondhand. It wasn't that much, and it was very cheap, and it was 100% merino. I was like, I can definitely do something with that. It's quite a thick yarn, which I like. I think it's like an Aran, basically. I would say it's pretty close to Knitting for Olive's heavy merino. So yeah, like an Aran worsted, something like that. And I was like, I'll buy these. They were super cheap, and I'll just make something for Iris with them. I don't know what, but I'll make something. So I was looking around for like a kid's pattern that matched the gauge that I got ish. And I found the Horsetooth pullover, so I just went for that. And I'm gonna be honest and say that I did a lot of modifications to it. I basically just used that as a starting point, and then I just went from there. So I cast it on, and I did a 2x2 ribbing. I'm not sure if that was in the pattern. Maybe it was a 1x1. I did a 2x2 because I like how it looks. And I did a folded collar, which was not in the pattern. I added short rows, which was not in the pattern. And I also think, no, I think after that I might have just followed it, the pattern. Yeah, I think so. But my sweater is a lot more wide than long, I think. I'm not sure why that happened, but it did. So yeah, and honestly, since this is like a merino, I was expecting it to pill a lot. It hasn't really pilled, but it's more like it's almost felting, which I don't mind. It's a kid's sweater, and when it comes to like Iris's clothes, both me and Simon, we are very like, they're just clothes. We were never the kind of parents that was like, oh no, don't get mud on your pants. We're more the kind of parents that are like, yes, go get mud on your pants, go explore the world. If you don't have mud on your pants, you're doing it wrong. So yeah, I don't really mind if she wears that sweater so much that it felts or that it breaks or whatever, because this is obviously like almost, it's definitely 1 ply, but it's almost unspun. So I don't feel like this will be a yarn that holds up very well, but I don't mind. It's a beautiful sweater. I'm very happy with it. She uses it a lot, and she stays warm, which was what I was going for. So yeah, happy with that. Also, Iris started preschool a couple of weeks ago. And before that, like, we live in Sweden, and in Sweden, I think in like the Nordic countries in general, like Scandinavia, it's very common at preschool that the kids sleep outside, even during winter. It's like a trend here at the moment. So she started preschool a couple of weeks ago, and they are sleeping outside, and it's still snow outside, so it's not very warm. And they have this, like, they have a bag of clothes. This is way more information than you need for me to show you this next net, but they have like their sleep clothes in a different kind of, in like a specific bag, and you're not supposed to use those clothes for anything else than the sleeping, because they want to make sure that no kid is going to sleep without a hat or whatever because they forgot it at home or something like that. So you have like a specific set of clothes that you put in a bag that are like, these are the clothes that you're supposed to be sleeping in, and they don't use them for anything else. And Iris only had one hat that she's using, which is a hat that my sister made for her, and we didn't want that to be like a hat that she only uses to sleep at preschool, because she uses that hat all the time, every day in like her life. So it's like, I'll just make her one. I don't really like knitting hats, to be honest. And I am also not a super big fan of knitting for kids. I don't know why. I should be. I'm trying to get more into it, but for some reason it doesn't spark the same kind of joy as knitting for myself, because I'm probably a selfish knitter. But yeah, I decided that I'll make her a hat. It's not a big project. It's gonna be super quick. So we were going away over like the weekend before she started preschool. She was starting on the Monday. On the Thursday before, we went on a little like weekend trip with friends. So it was like, I'll bring some yarn, I'll cast on them in the car, and I'll just make her a hat during the weekend, so we can bring it to preschool on Monday and she can sleep in that. I wanted it to be wool, and I didn't want to buy anything, so I went for this yarn because I did have leftovers after the sweater. So I cast it on in the car. I didn't swatch for it because I don't swatch usually. I'm lazy, okay? And that's probably also why this happened, and this is why you should swatch. So I spent a few hours in the car knitting on the, I was about to say sweater, on the hat. I went for like a 1x1 ribbed hat because I wanted it to be a bit flexible. So I had like this much of the hat, which is a lot of the hat when she's a kid, right? She doesn't need a big hat. She's small. And Simon was like, he was driving, he was looking at me and was like, oh, it kind of looks small, don't you think? I was like, oh. So I put it on stitch holders, and I was supposed to sleep in the car, but I was like trying it on her little head, and it was too small. So I was very frustrated because I wasn't enjoying the process, because I didn't want to knit a hat. It was more like a, you know, we talk about the process knit or the finished object knit. This was definitely a finished object knit. I didn't really want to make it. It was more like, I need a hat for her. I didn't want to buy it because I could just make it with yarn that I already have. So it was too small. So I ripped all of it out in frustration. And then I cast it on again, adding like 30 stitches or something. I was like, this has to fit now because I've added like this much. And I just started over. I knit for like the same amount, and Simon again was like, this wasn't in the car, this was later. He was like, still kind of looks small. And I was so frustrated. I was like, are you kidding me? So I put it on stitch holders again, tried it on her head, and was like, could probably make it work with blocking, but it is maybe a bit snug, and I wanted it to fit for like more than a month, and she's a kid, so she's growing fast. So I ripped it out again. I was so frustrated at this point that I like, okay, I'll add another 30 stitches to make it fit, and then I'm just gonna finish this hat, and if it doesn't fit, I'll buy her one because this isn't fun anymore. So I did that. I finished the hat. Here it is. Da, da, da. I based this. It's just a like 1x1 ribbing hat. I based the decreases on the classic ribbed hat from Pearl Soho. So they look like this. I really like the decreases. I didn't really follow the pattern, but I used her idea of like how to do it. So that's how it looks. So I finished this, and honestly, it's too big. It's obviously a little bit too like small for me. It's too short. My ears are all the way down here, but it can fit around my head. So it's obviously too big for Iris because she's not even 2 years old. So yeah, I brought it. I was like, I've had it with this hat. I'm not doing it again. So I finished the hat, took it to preschool, and she used this to sleep in for like a couple of weeks. I was like, at least she won't be cold. But it was too big. So I was watching TV one night, and I felt like, oh, what was I doing? I was watching a movie or something, and I was like, oh, I should be knitting. If I'm sitting here, I should be knitting. I wasn't really feeling the knitting, didn't really want to do it, but I was like, okay, I'll just make her a new hat. I'll just do it. So I took yarn that I had. I took do I have it here? No, I don't think I do. I took the VIP from Lana Gatto in the color Rosso that I made a sweater from before. I had that in stash. It was like, feels a bit fancy to knit your kid a sleep hat, like that she's only gonna use for sleeping at preschool, in like a cashmere merino blend. But it's the yarn that I had in stash that I like didn't have another plan for. That I was like, I'm just gonna do it. Who cares? Of course she's gonna have a cashmere hat. So I did that. I held 2 strands together and I started it. And I was like, this has to fit now, because it was very like, again, I didn't swatch, but I did measure it a lot, like the circumference. I was like, this is a good circumference, like compared to her head size. It has to fit. But I did this in one night and she was asleep in her bed, so I didn't want to try it on her head. So I did that, and it was too small. It was too small. It like the circumference was good, but it wasn't deep enough, so it didn't cover her ears. It like ended around here. I was so frustrated. So I was like, I'm not redoing this hat. So what I did the night after is that I picked up the stitches around the edge and I just added length. So it's like, it almost has a little cuff now. And I knew that it would be visible because I was picking up the stitches. And I was like, obviously there's gonna be like a seam or an edge or whatever. So I did just accept that, and on the length that I added, I actually did twisted rib instead, just to make it look intentional, kind of. So yeah, that's what I did, and it fits her perfectly now. It's not my best work, obviously, but it's doing the job. So this hat is now waiting for her to get bigger, and because obviously she's gonna get bigger, so it's gonna fit her at some point, hopefully. And that other hat is now with her at preschool. Perfect. And I feel like I'm not knitting hats again anytime soon because I really don't enjoy it. I really don't. I don't know why. I enjoy the fact that it's very fast. You can do like an entire hat in one night, especially if it's for a kid. But it's something about it that doesn't give me the same kind of satisfaction as finishing a sweater. I don't know why. Yeah, I'm gonna move on now. So before I show you my works in progress, I have two. Yeah. Before I show you them, I need to show you something tragic that happened to me. So I was cooking, and for some reason that I cannot explain and that I cannot understand myself, I decided I was taking like a bottle of sesame oil from the fridge, and for some reason I felt the need to shake it. I really don't know why, because you really don't have to, but I did that, and it wasn't like entirely closed, the cap. So what happened to my beautiful, amazing Gib Raglan by Andrea Mowry is that it got sesame oil all over it. I don't know if you can see it on camera. Probably can. You can definitely see it in real life. There's like a big blotch of, like there's a big stain. One here and then like a big one here. And I panicked because it was like, I have oil on my entire sweater. And I love this sweater. I use this sweater so much. I really love it. And it's like an all over textured, full length sweater with like cables and raglans. I was panicking. I was like, why did I shake the bottle? So it was like, in my panic, I was still, because I was still cooking, so I had things like, you know, on the stove. So I told Simon, can you just please pour me like tub of warm water that I can, so I can wash my sweater. So I just popped it in the bath with wool wash and was like, I didn't think about it. This is the problem. I should have thought about it, but I didn't. I just put it in there like I was blocking it basically, or washing it regularly. I was like trying to wash it gently, but it is a like non-super wash yarn, so I didn't want to go heavy on it because I didn't want to felt it. And then I took it out, I dried it, and it dried, and I could just see that the stain was still there, and it was so sad. It's like, it's never gonna get, I'm never gonna save this sweater, it's gonna be lost forever. So, at midnight, I talked to some of the knitters that were there about this. I was like, do you have any tips? What should I do with this sweater? Because I love it. I don't want it to be ruined, and it's like a big stain at the middle of the front. It's very visible. And they were like, well, you probably shouldn't have washed it with water because that probably just made the oil go into the wool fiber more. You should have used like regular dish soap or maybe something, you know, that actually works on oil, which water doesn't, which I know. But I wasn't thinking because I was panicking about my sweater. So they were like, probably won't be able to get that stain out now because you kind of washed it into the sweater. I don't know if you have any tips on this. If you do, let me know. If you're like, no, you probably could get it out if you do this. But I feel like they have a point. So I've been mourning the sweater since then. And then at midnight, one of them came. We're like, well, you could always just try soaking the entire sweater in some kind of oil and make the stain color the new color of the sweater so that the entire sweater is stained. I haven't tried this because it feels scary, and it also feels a bit weird to like block my sweater in like vegetable oil or something. I'm not gonna go with the sesame oil because the sesame oil is expensive and it smells a lot. But I could do like vegetable oil. I might do it. I'm not sure, but it feels like at this point, if none of you have like a great tip on how to save this, I might try it because at this point I'm not using it because it feels ruined to me. I don't want to use it with like a big stain that is very visible. So I'm like, what's the worst thing that can happen if I try to put the entire sweater in oil? The worst thing that will happen is that I won't be able to use it, which is already what's happening. And best case scenario, the entire sweater goes the same color as the stain, which makes the stain less visible. I am considering it. I might do it. It feels scary, but I might actually do it because I really like this sweater. So I might do it. We'll see. But yeah, I'm sure you can see the stain. It's like right here. It's a big stain. Why did I shake the bottle? Who shakes the bottle? Oh my god. Moving on to works in progress. The first one is a sweater that I'm very unexcited about, which is probably why I'm not knitting anything right now, because I should be knitting on this. I'm not enjoying it. I'm not enjoying the process. But this is, I was about to say a Felix. It's not really. It's based on the Felix pullover by Saber Knitting. Knitting? Felt like I was, my voice was cracking there. It is based on that pattern, but without the lace details. I'm just doing the same amount of stitches, the same gauge, and like using the increase rate for the raglan. But I'm doing a 2-stitch raglan, just regular instead. And this sweater, it's on way too tiny cable, so you won't be able to really see it. But I'm still at the yoke, so I haven't even finished, like, separated for sleeves yet. This is what you have. This is black sweater, and it's a summer sweater. And I'm knitting it in one strand of Knitting for Olive's pure silk in the color Coal, and one strand of Sandnes garn Lana in the color, I'm not sure, 10 and 99. I don't know the color name. So I'm holding them together, and I hate it. I really hate it. I think it's the Lana, because I've used the pure silk before, and I did not hate it. But I do hate this because, and I feel bad now, because I was talking to Francesca from an Italian knitter recently, and she was like, I hate this yarn, and it was heavy merino from Knitting for Olive, which is my favorite yarn. And now I'm like, I hate this yarn, and I know that this, like, Lena is probably her favorite summer yarn. So I feel like I'm trashing her baby, but she was trashing my baby, so that's fine. We're all friends here. But yeah, I really don't like it. I feel like, oh no, I'm losing stitches. Hang on. Problem with having it on a too tiny cable. I feel like the problem with this yarn is that it doesn't have any give. So when I'm knitting with it, it feels so like, it's not flexible, is what I'm trying to say. Not that yarn in general is, but I feel like when you're knitting with wool, it has a little bit of a give. I don't feel like this has that. So it feels very, very unflexible when I'm knitting with it. I feel like I have to tug it, like I have to really work for it. I can't really get into the groove of like mindless, comfortable, relaxed knitting. Because I don't know, I'm just not enjoying it. Which is why the sweater hasn't gone further than this. Usually a Felix for me, I knit it in like a week. If I'm like knitting only on that. But this has been a good while now, and I haven't even finished the yoke, because every time I'm thinking about knitting on it, I'm like, oh, no, not that one. But that said, I know that I will love like the feel of it when it's done, because I do have a sweater that I made last year that is knit in, was that also pure silk? Yeah, I think it was pure silk held with one strand of drops cotton linen blend. And I don't remember if it was the same feeling when I was knitting that sweater, but I love that sweater. I used it a lot last summer because I'm not a person who can wear wool in the summer if it's not, I live in Sweden, so it's not super warm here. But if we have warm days, which we do, I can't wear a wool sweater, but I can wear a linen one. So I did wear that sweater a lot last summer, which is why I was like, I need another one, and decided to go for the black one because it fits my wardrobe nicely. So I should finish it because summer and spring is coming up, and I know that I'll get a lot of use out of it. I'm just not enjoying it. So that's it. But I'll get around to it. I'll do it just for kind of as with the hat. This is not about the process at all. It's about the object. And I think this is the problem with me right now with knitting. Everything that I'm knitting on right now, that sweater, the black one, the hats that I've been making, and this last work in progress that I'm going to show you soon, they're all about the finished object. None of them are about the process, which is probably why I'm not really enjoying it, because I'm not enjoying the process itself. I'm like, oh, couldn't this just be finished by now so that I could do something else? Which is probably the problem. I need to find, I think, a project that excites me, that I'm like, oh, this would be so fun to make. That's probably what I need. And I don't have that at the moment, because this next one that I'm going to show you, the last one, is a knit that I feel like I needed to finish 2 weeks ago. And basically, I feel like I should have finished it at the same time as I casted it on, because when I casted it on was when I realized that I needed it. So it's like, I need this. I could make it. It will take me a while, but I need this, and I kind of need it now. It was like, I just got to get going. So I feel a bit stressed about that, which is not like sparking my creativity either. I'll show it to you. It's this one. This is also for Iris. Also, so that she will have something to sleep in at preschool, which is why I feel stressed about it, because spring is coming up and soon it will be too warm for her to wear this. But right now, she kind of needs it. She does have, like, she's not cold when she's sleeping. She does have clothes. And she does have, like, a wool full length body sleeves onesie that I made her that she's sleeping in. But it's not really made for that kind of purpose. So it's not perfect for it. It works, but it's not perfect for it. And she's got like jackets and stuff. So she's fine, but kind of feel like she needs a better solution for it. So I am making, and I think this is a prestige thing. I don't know if it is, but I feel like it is. Like, it's the knitter in me that are like, well, you are a knitter, and your kid doesn't have the perfect sleepsuit at preschool. You need to fix this. And I feel like it's a prestige thing. Like with the hat, I feel like I can't buy her a hat. I'm a knitter. Like, I don't know if this is like pretentious, maybe a little bit, but I feel like she's a kid who has a mom that knits, like, a lot, especially for myself. So I feel like that needs to show for some reason. That it needs to be like, well, she has the right wool merino clothes that she needs because I can make them for her. It's a privilege, obviously, but it's also, I feel like, a prestige thing from my side. That I feel like I can't buy her a good wool sweater. I'll need to make her one because I can make her one. And I feel like she deserves the right things. Does this make sense? Honestly, I feel a bit grossed out by myself saying this because it feels a bit, like I said, pretentious. But I feel like it's a prestige thing for me. It's like, well, if I'm making myself the clothes that I need, I should also be taking the time to make her the clothes she needs. And yeah, I don't know if this is making sense. And if you have kids and you're also a knitter, do you also feel like this? Like, you almost feel bad if I went and like bought her a wool hat to wear when she sleeps at preschool, because I'm like, I could just make it. I should make it. For all different kinds of reasons when it comes to like slow fashion and sustainability and like the economic aspect of me already having the yarn and the skill to make it instead of going to get another one. And also, like, like I said, a prestige thing. That if she has a mom who knits, that needs to show. I don't know if this is healthy. But yeah, that's what I'm battling. So I feel like she needs to have the perfect sleep suit. So I'm making her sleep suit. I'm doing the Selma sleep suit by Petite Knit. And this is how much I have. So I made the hood. You start at the hood. So I made the hood. I have, oh, I'll try to show this to you. Maybe if I do it like this, it'll keep a bit shape. I have separated the sleeves. I've also started one of the sleeves because I was getting bored with the body, so I needed to do something else, so I was doing the sleeve. I'm doing a modification to this because me and Simon, we were talking about what we wanted from this sleep suit. He was like, I really wanted to have a zipper. I was like, a zipper? It's like, yeah, he's tired of the buttons. I get it. There's a lot of buttons if I would have done buttons on this. So I get it. He was like, it's so much faster to just zip it up. So I get that. So I have taken it upon myself to add a zipper to this. I made the zipper sweater by Petite Knit once. So I did make a sweater with a zipper. I think I can do it. But I felt like, oh, it's gonna be a hassle. So I'm not doing the buttonholes because there's not going to be buttons. I'm just knitting it as explained in the pattern, but without the buttonholes. And I think what I'll do, and this might not be a good idea, but this is what I think I might do. When I have made the entire thing, I think I'll pick up stitches on the inside of the button band and just knit so that it's like double, so that there's like a little pocket, if that makes sense, that I can put the zipper into and sew it into, because that's kind of how you do it with the zipper sweater. Not really construction wise, but you do have that little like pocket thing that you can put the zipper into. So I think that's what I'll try, and we'll see how that works. So hopefully I will finish this sometime, probably in the middle of summer when she doesn't need it anymore. But I took this into consideration when I started it, because I was like, obviously I'm not going to finish this in a week. Especially since I'm not really feeling the knitting, and also because she's getting to a size now, because when you're doing baby knits, you're like, they're so small, I'll do that in a week. But she's getting bigger, so her clothes aren't that small anymore. So it's still a lot of knitting. So what I did is that I made it in a size that I think she can still wear this autumn and this winter that's coming after the summer. Hopefully. And this is also garter stitch, because it is knit flat, which is making me happy, because there's no purling. Which also means that the sleeves are actually knit flat, and then you sew them together because of the garter stitch. So it will grow a bit with blocking. So I'm thinking this can be a good thing for her this autumn as well. If it doesn't fit her, I'll just, you know, use it for something else. There's more kids in the world that needs clothes, so we'll be fine. I'm making this in Sandnes garn Double Sunday, and I can't for the life of me remember the color. And like I told you, my knitting life is a mess, so I haven't even started this one, I think, in my knitting journal. Nope. So it doesn't say the color name here, but it's this like foresty green color. And yeah, I think that's all my knitting today. And I think I do have an acquisition though. Should I show that to you, or should I just save my voice? Well, I'll show you the acquisition. I realized that Iris needs another sweater because she has that wool sweater that I made in this yarn, but that is at preschool, so that she can stay warm when they're outside during the day in the winter, and now that it's still cold. And we left it there, so I was like, okay, maybe she needs to have another one so we can at least have two. So I was like, oh, I should make her another one. And this is the problem with me, I think, right now. It's it's not the process that excites me. It's more of a, I need this, which is the problem. But I tried to counteract this by getting a yarn that excited me. So this is a superwash merino, I think. Is it merino? I hope it's merino. That's what I was going for. Yeah, it's a 100% superwash merino. I'm not a big fan of the superwash yarns for different reasons, but I'm trying to accept that they are a good choice for kids knits because you can wash them a little more aggressively. Because with her onesies, when she's gotten food on them, it is quite hard to get it out without like felting it. So I'm trying to embrace the superwash. We'll see how it goes, but I'll try. So I got this yarn, and it's beautiful, which is what's exciting. This is the, what's the brand? Schoppel? Yeah, Schoppel's, yeah, Schoppel. I feel like this is German. Schoppel. Yeah, I think Schoppel. I'm not sure. That's the logo. And the yarn is called Edition 3. The color is, that is 2362. And it's this yarn is giving me spin cycle vibes, which is why it's exciting. I have like a sweater's quantity for Iris in this, and it's exciting me. So I'm gonna make her a sweater out of this yarn, I think, that can fit her this autumn, because it's gonna be way too warm before I finish it for her to use it now. And if we have like a cold summer here in Sweden, she can still use it. It just might be a little bit oversized, but I'm gonna, like, my plan is to go for this autumn, this coming winter, in like size wise. So that's all I have for you today. I'm gonna finish my tea, and I have to go in like 40 minutes to pick up Iris from preschool. And I should call my mother, because she's been calling me and I've been busy, so I should call her. Yeah, that's all I had to say today. If you have any tips on how to save the oil stain mess, please let me know. I'm very, very interested. And I hope you have a great day, and I will see you when I see you. Bye!